Hi, Emma. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing great. So it was great because I talked to Herman and I said I was asking about inspiration and I literally said I couldn't tell if he was supposed to be Harry Styles or Yungblud. And then he was like, those were the two that like we were going back and forth between for someone like this. And so I wanted to ask you, as a writer and director, when you're creating a, mythical, fictional rock star, what for you was the most important kind of qualities to bring to a character like Peyton and so that it's not just like a caricature of like two singers that we know have dedicated fan bases.
Yeah, well, for me as well, I'll say there was a bit of a update with those references because for me it was like Tyson Ritter from All American Rejects for sure. I mean Gerard Way for sure. Like
Mhm.
those emo frontmen. Um, but I think that's a really good question. In creating that, it's something that Herman has, uh,
Mhm.
and it's frankly something. It's just like you have charisma. So I don't think it matters that there's even references for people. Like that was definitely references for like the music quality, like what the type of music that fans and fangirls specifically latch on to is like. I mean, I was a huge One Direction fan. I still
Yeah.
am, but um, what kind of music it is, but then as far as, the qualities of a singer, you're like it's just that X factor. It's a sexiness. It's all on the hips. It's all on the hair flicks, It's like you can't quantify it, but you know it when you see it.
Yeah. Well, I also love that this movie is not only a commentary on like stan culture as a whole, because I feel like there's the good kind of fangirls, and then there are the ones that you're like, maybe we need to like examine what's going on within fandom as a whole. And I like that there is both sides within this movie with these two friends and kind of their dedication to Peyton as a performer and the band. How important was it for you to like not make fangirl and fandom as a whole seem dark and angry, but also have the kind of layers that like there are parts of fandom that are scary, but there's also parts of fandom that are just like very much like obsessed with what this person has put out.
I mean, I love fans and I am a fan, and I think the coolest people are fans of stuff. That's like what
Mm-hmm.
makes life interesting. Like I'm a horror fan, I'm a movie fan, and I have my bands that I'm in love with too, and that have gotten me through really hard times. And I think that I didn't want to cast judgment on fangirls because I'd been around the music world for so long, and for the most part, like musicians need their fans. Like, movies need their fans. We need people that's who you make the music for. So it's an incredibly important relationship. And for the most part, people are like finding communities through fandom. And it's like this, joyous celebration of like we all love the same
Mm-hmm.
thing and it's cool and it's fun. Um, and frankly, I'd seen too many movies. It's like most of the sort of crazy obsessed fangirl movies or the obsession movies are just too one-dimensional, I think, in how they portray it. It's probably rooted in some misogyny. That we just, cast this. I don't know. They're just crazy, and it's a blanket term, and there's nothing else to it. And there was never an examination of like why we might, be made to be crazy, and like why society as well demands that we, fit. I guess society also tells women a lot of things too. Like for the most part, aren't a ton of examples of like there are a few, but there are many more men kind of in the rock star like frontman role or like in these places. So like women see themselves as like, best case scenario, like I'm growing up to be like the rock star's girlfriend, like,
Mm-hmm.
and you're the tokens that you have to like get any place are kind of based in like your relation to a man. And there's a little bit of that I think is crazy making as well. So, um, does that answer the question?
Yeah, no, I love that because I was literally like, for years, I was always like, well, if I was ever on Doctor Who, I'd always have to be the companion because the doctor's never a woman. And so then when the doctor was a woman, I was like, oh, so that is like a possibility. And so it like is kind of built into the same idea of like fans as a whole respond to like the thing that they're looking at and not necessarily like the what could be's. And I do love that the movie kind of explores a lot of that with like I feel bad because Riley is someone who just very clearly needs somebody to notice that she needs help, and that doesn't happen from either of her parental units or her friend who does kind of like
Mhm.
assist her in a lot of this movie. But how important was it for you in writing a character like Riley to make sure that like the bad things she's doing are still seen as bad things, but we also have a sympathy for her?
I mean, it goes back to the point too of wanting to go deeper on the fan culture and the understanding of that, she's not born this way. She was kind of made this way. So if we didn't have empathy or at least understand why she did things, it all just falls apart. And it was a very, I will say, a difficult thing to do, a very difficult line to walk. And I would credit Kate Hallett as well in her performance because she continues to just have such depth and kind of embody this sadness that really helps you understand, even when she continues to do awful things. You're like, I feel that it comes from a deep place of sadness. Um, and that really helps me. I'm on her side, and I think that you know, I find it very divisive in people where they end up feeling whether she's a hero or a victim or whatever. But I kind of like that it creates that conversation.
Yeah. Well, I also love that, like, obviously it's going to have the comparisons to Misery, just given the like context. But I also love that to me, I think Annie Wilkes and Riley are two very different kind of fangirls because you have one that is so dedicated to the work itself that she is willing to trap a man to write the ending she thinks it deserves versus this, which is someone who loves a man so much that she just wants to take care of him. And so it's a different kind of love within fandom,
Hmm.
if you will. When you were writing this, was it always like on your mind that people were going to make those comparisons, or did it become kind of, the aftermath of making the entire movie and seeing kind of how we as a culture only really have a couple of examples of the more toxic side of fans?
Yeah, I don't mind the comparison to Misery at all because I do feel like, I mean, I think that the movie is its own thing entirely, but it's certainly, we're all a result of our influences in a way, and Stephen King is a huge influence for me too. And so, and that movie was, we were very aware of the references, and we actually pay homage to it in the film. Um, Even before we went into making it, there's two Stephen King Easter eggs in the movie. One is Peyton on his arm has a sledgehammer tattoo in reference to Misery, and then on his arm he's got a little heart with a like rose thorns around it, and that's in the movie Carrie. There's like the mom has a pin with that exact
Yeah.
emblem on it. So, we were aware of our references, but I think that you know, it's hard to like say where these things generate from, but like, we want to pay homage and then make our own thing from it. So it's, a very happy to have that comparison drawn, but like I really hope that people will go into the movie with a bit of a fresh perspective too, because if you're expecting that, um, it's a little different.
I 100% agree. I wanted to ask about the tattoos because when I talk to Herman, I'm always fascinated as someone with a lot of tattoos about
Mm.
how actors kind of navigate tattoos, whether they have them or they don't, and like how it applies to characters. But obviously, you had a lot of say in figuring out what those tattoos would be because there were two references within them. But how was it working with Herman to figure out what Peyton's tattoos needed to be, both for him as an actor and for you as like a creative trying to figure out what the design of this character was going to look like?
I mean, Herman, yeah, those are all made tattoos for him too.
Mhm.
We there, I mean, all the ta we drew some references up and different things, and like I'm kind of like you. I have to show you. I got a sweetness tattoo. A bunch of us from the movie got. There's mine. It's
Oh
like
my
what
goodness,
he
it's so
had on
cute.
his stage design. A few of us got matching tattoos after the movie to commemorate it. Uh,
Mhm.
Mine is real, but I have a lot of
Not one of
different.
the fake ones.
Yeah, I have a lot of different little tattoos and kind of just wanted to, you know, I think that it helps to have something like physically embody a character a little bit more too, to just separate Herman from Peyton. So the tattoos were a part of that, and I think it made sense for the character. We had a lot of discussion about the lower back tattoo.
He
Um,
told me about the tramp stamp.
We needed, and I was adamant that we needed it. I was like, we got to have it. And he, bless him, was like very game. Um, and I think it's hot. I think, more men
Need
should
to-
get tramp stamps. And that is the
Agreed.
message that I am putting forward into the world with this press campaign. Men, get a tramp
Tramp
stamp.
stamp. That's the
Think
only thing they should take away from this movie. Men, tramp stamps.
yeah, if there's one thing you should take away, get yourself to a tattoo parlor today and see what happens. Just you might love it.
They'll have sweetness written on their back in like
Yeah.
that very bad tattoo font that we've kind of moved away from, but is still out there if you want
Yeah,
it.
exactly. Like tribal style kind of
Yeah, or the what is the hyper sigilism is
cyber
the new one.
cyber sigilism. Yeah.
Yeah, just do that. Um, well, I wanted to ask too, because I do love that a movie like this, like there's obviously going to be a lot of strong reactions one way or the other because people are either going to see something reflected within themselves in Peyton and Riley, or it's going to be a lot of people kind of feeling justified in how they view the darker parts of fandom. For you, what is the most exciting part about getting to listen to those conversations when a movie like this comes out and figure out kind of where everyone stands on a movie like Sweetness?
It is interesting. I try not to um I don't know, get too like political isn't even the right word for it too, but it
Mm-hmm.
does feel sort of gendered, I would say, in the reactions very often. I think that people who, yeah, I think that you almost get this like, uh, you know, queer girl side too that tends to lean more Team Riley, maybe just through lived experiences. We've had a few more of those things, and then
Mm-hmm.
sort of a cis man side tends to go more Peyton like and lean into the craziness too. So it's interesting to see. I hope that it can kind of, create a little bit of empathy on both sides, but um I like I like the discussions. I mean, frankly, I'm very interested in making movies that just give us a little something different. I mean, I'm always going to make things that have like women at the forefront and then complex women, which is the other part of it. Like I just want to make things where, we get to have like, both Kate and Aya and our stepmom Amanda Bruegel's character, like, there's more to them. There's like both good and bad contained within a single individual, and I don't think that we have enough of that. I think, we've been dealing with like just one faceted characters for women for the most part for years and years. This is, I think, also why I get so into horror and that genre, because as much as it's like, the final girl is, you know, we have more
Yeah.
like lead women in this genre, even though sometimes they're the ones getting hacked to bits and there's a lot of violence portrayed against women too, we still have female leads in this genre, which is interesting. Um, and I just, whatever I can do to just continue to create complex characters, and especially for the women, non-binary, queer folk as well.
Yeah. Well, I wanted to ask for a last question, just because, like, listen, I have my entire life have been obsessed with actors and like will dedicate, like, I'll watch their entire filmographies. I talk
Mhm.
about them all the time. And like, it's very interesting because women instantly get labeled weird for that stuff. Like, but I was like, I'm a straight girl and I would love male actors, but then like a man whose obsession with a football team, that's fine, but I'm not okay to talk about an actor as much as I want. And it's like, I love that kind of conversation. And I love with a movie like this, it shows that it's like, no, it's like not weird that girls do this. Like we all kind of have that part of us that has a dedication to something that we love in the entertainment world. For you, when you're now getting to share that kind of side of being a woman one way or the other, like that we all do love musicians or artists as a whole, what for you is the most fun part about getting to kind of share, to be that representation for a lot of people, and to be like, even though Riley does things that you're like, okay, I wouldn't do that, but I do understand the posters on the wall and the like, I want to go to the concert kind of it all.
Well, I mean, it's just like that, you and I are even having this discussion because what you're saying is kind of, it's like bias. It's like misogyny, right?
Yeah.
Like the way that we view women and men and their, the things that they get obsessed with is like, yeah, girl's crazy, boy is just a really big fan of the Patriots. Like what,
Yeah.
And and that's valid, but this other thing isn't. And I think we can all examine that a little bit closer. And it's, yes, Sweetness is like a fun ride of a movie, but I like that these discussions are coming up from it. And I think that you're going to continue to get those things when we just have more different voices within the filmmaking community. And you'll just get different kinds of stories told, and we'll create hopefully different perspectives. So, I'm grateful to be where I am to to do that. And like I hope, that we get to continue to do that. And like, there's so many cool people and collaborators that I can't take full credit for this as well too. It's like I just had the support of, these amazing actors and, my team, my editor as well, and who is so influential in this film, Kat Weber, and my producers and production designer and everyone too. Like there's so many different people that came in to lend their perspectives on this. So um, I just hope we get to make more.
Yeah. Well, I am adding it to my She Took It Too Far, but Good for Her now trilogy, which is Misery, Oh High, and now Sweetness. Just
Good
because I'm like, listen, let girls be messy. I'm into it. But
for her. That's
good for her.
definitely it.
Good for
That
her.
and like the other one that I think is is like Gone Girl because
Yeah.
you know
Amy Dunn has done nothing wrong in her life. She's perfect.
I agree. She is just like, listen, did she go on an elaborate framing of her husband and maybe kill someone along the way? S- Yes. But was she great at doing it? Yes. She,
Did he scorn her first? Yes.
yes,
And
is
that is important.
exactly. He like Amy Dunn. Bow down.
Amy Dunn, nothing wrong. Well, I love Sweetness. I think it's such a fun and interesting watch, and I can't wait for everyone else to get to see it. And so thank you so much for talking with me today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. I mean, yeah, and the Mary Sue and stuff has been so helpful. We used one of the quotes in our trailer even too from your outlet originally, and when we premiered at South by, and like I just really appreciate your questions and perspective and like helping get it out to the right kind of audience too, because we need the genre fans and the
They
girls,
need
the fangirls to go see it. So I'm
they
very
need to
grateful.
see it. I think it's a lot of fun. So thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Really appreciate you. Thanks, Rachel.
Have a great one. Hey Kate, how are you?
Good, how are you?
I'm doing great. To start, when I was talking to Emma, I was saying I was like, I love that this is a movie that kind of shows both the dark sides and the good sides of being a fangirl because I feel like women get a lot of a bad rap when it
Mm-hmm.
comes to being fans. And
Mm-hmm.
so for you, how important was it with a character like Riley to not only play like the darker parts of her, but also kind of find those more sympathetic moments so where we can kind of connect with her, even when
Mm-hmm.
she's doing things that an audience might not necessarily condone or root for her in that moment.
Yeah, I would say that that was kind of our number one priority. Like we never wanted her to just be like a tropey kind of villain. We wanted her to be a real person and to be grounded and we wanted to show that, there's reasoning behind her actions, even if it's really flawed, it's still there. And this is someone who has been very hurt and has gone through a lot, and just has not dealt with it well. And I think, yeah, it was very, very important for us.
And for you as Kate, was
Mhm.
there like anything that you were like, I can relate because I'm that way about X, Y, and Z? Like obviously not like let me trap a man in a basement,
Mhm.
X, Y, and Z, but like a dedication to whether it be a musician or an actor
Mhm.
or something like that. Was there
Mhm.
some one thing that you could kind of connect with Riley on?
I don't know if I can say that there's like one thing because I feel like there's been so many things in my life that I've felt so passionately about. And I'm really lucky to be able to say that, I think. And yeah, I have always been someone who, will just like get obsessed with one thing for a little while and then that'll kind of cool off, but I'll have another thing. And so there's a lot there's a lot to draw on.
I relate. I call it my back burner, where it's like if I
Mhm,
love an actor and then like he's kind of fallen out, and then in love with another one, I'm like, he's still on the
mhm.
back burner. Like
Oh
if a
yeah.
new movie comes out, I'm pulling it back out. But I'm just
Oh
saying,
yeah.
for right now, it's on my back burner.
That's a
But
great way to put it.
it's just how it works. And I also, think it's an ADHD quality in women, but
Yes.
alas, but it is. But I wanted to ask is like her room, I think, is such a fascinating look into her character, but it's also something that I think like we don't get to kind of nail down in movies, because when you do like a teenage girl's room, it's normally like a bunch of different posters and stuff like that. And like, yes, that's true, but like there's also like if you're obsessed with something, like there tends to be like a whole section of your room dedicated to
Oh yeah.
that person when you're a teenager. Like I used to have Hayden Christensen all over my wall when I was a teen. But like when you were in that room and you kind of were seeing how covered her walls were with posters of Peyton, how did that kind of help you in not only understanding Riley and her love of this singer, but also just like figuring out what kind of fangirl she was?
Oh, it was so helpful. They did an incredible job with that room. It was insane walking into it for the first time. I think we were all kind of a little speechless because it's just like, oh wow. Um, that's a lot of Herman space. But it was, yeah, it was so helpful, and like I think every aspect of filmmaking is so important for us to, like see as actors on set, because it really does help you build your character from like costuming to makeup to the set design. It really helps.
Yeah. One I also love too that like I called this like there's a trilogy of movies that I'm like I don't always support her, but like good for her.
Mhm. Mhm.
Because it's like obviously there's the comparisons with Misery to this, but it's like
Mhm.
Misery, Oh Hi, and now this are like three movies where I'm
Mhm.
like, listen, I wouldn't do it, but like good for her. She's like
Yeah.
sticking up for herself in her own way. How
Mhm.
does it make you feel as an actor to kind of have that power within a character? Because even though she's doing things that many of us wouldn't do, we're like, but good for her. She's standing up
Mhm.
for what she believes in that moment, and I can't really fault her for that.
I mean that's such a high compliment. And I don't know. I don't even know how to respond because that's what I wanted, and that's what Emma wanted, and so that, we got to achieve that, is it makes me very, very happy that, people feel like that and are seeing that come through.
Yeah, and I also love to like Riley's such a specific look that is also tied a little bit to what the band itself looks like, which
Hmm.
I think is a nice touch because that does tend to be when you're a younger fangirl, you dress more in like a way you think will impress the thing you're obsessed with.
Hmm.
How was it getting to kind of, build that out and build out Riley's look, knowing that it was kind of going to be connected to Peyton and the band in that way?
It was so interesting because it's so very different from my own personal style. Um, and I mean, it was really, really helpful for just kind of like separating myself. So it was really fun just to get to see it all for the first time, and to just, I don't know, get to be in it, and um yeah, like I said, it was super helpful for me to see, and also to help find her physicality, because a lot of the clothes were quite heavy.
Mm.
Especially like the pants, the big buckled pants, and like the boots are such a specific like feeling to wear. So it was really cool. It was really fun.
When I wanted to ask too, when you're playing a character who is doing questionable things, but
Hmm.
like to her they're not questionable, but for the audience they are going to be questionable. What
Hmm.
for you was the biggest kind of trick or moment for you in really understanding Riley and where she was coming from and why she was doing these things?
Hmm. I had a moment in prep because I was really struggling with that. And just like not judging her. Um, and I was like just doing a lot of research kind of on like narcissistic personality traits, and kind of different things like that. And I think it was like a YouTube comment where it was like, um, they have their own very specific story, and like perspective, and I just kind of like realizing that to her this is kind of like a fantasy, like what we would consider a fantasy world where the morals are not the same, and what we consider unacceptable, it's kind of like, okay, well, we have to do this to achieve the goal. Like it's a sacrifice, but it's necessary to help the world and do like a greater good.
Yeah, one for our last question I wanted to ask you, because I do love that this is going to have a lot of conversations. Like I do think that men are going to be like, wow, that's a villain. And it's like,
Mhm.
with someone who needed help and no one was willing to help her. And there's
Mhm.
going to be a lot of like back and forth and nuance for you. How exciting is it to not only get to be like kind of like the face of that conversation in a movie like this, but also get to see how it is received by both fangirls and how they kind of react to it and people who
Mhm.
maybe don't understand that culture.
I think it's really interesting. I Yeah, I feel nervous to be like the face of like a conversation like that. Um, but I don't know, I love when films start any kind of dialogue. I think that's so important. Just to be like communicating with each other and being respectful of different views and of different tastes. Um, and so yeah, yeah, love it when there's a conversation.
I can't wait to see what everyone thinks about this movie. I think it's such a fun and interesting watch. And so thank you so much for talking with me today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Have a great one. Hello, how are you?
Hey Rachel, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. So before we even get into everything, I have to ask you because there were moments where I was like, cool, he's Yungblud, and then there were moments where I was like, cool, he's Harry Styles. So I need to know what your personal inspirations were for Peyton.
All right, so this is like a hybrid thing because
Mm,
I'm not an artist. I'm not used to being on stage and performing this kind of music at all. I've done musicals and stuff, but I've never done this kind of music. So we were going back and forth with our director Emma Higgins about what kind of character Peyton was supposed to be and what kind of heavy emotions that should bother him and affect him. And I think we kind of realized that we need a mix of Harry Styles with Harry Styles's playfulness and
mm,
Youngblood's more the darker sides of his performances when he's kind of drenched and more,
mm.
yeah. So it turned out to be like a hybrid of both. So it's very fun that you mentioned those two because that's like the number one way I would describe the inspiration for Peyton.
Well, because it was the hair, I was like, well, the hair's 100% like young blood's hair. And then it
Fair
was
enough.
like with the sobriety storyline, I was like, okay, well, that's more young blood than Harry Styles. But then it was just like he would dress like Harry Styles. I was like, I need to know
That's
what's the truth.
that's what we had so much fun with. We at one point I think we were playing around with costumes and the outfits and what how he should look. And I think we all realized that we needed tattoos. And just to put
Mm,
it in perspective, how that process went. I was asked, all right, we're gonna do tattoos. What kind of tattoos would you want? And I mentioned a bunch. We tried a bunch, happy with it. And then I said for fun, how about a tramp stamp? Isn't that kind of cool? Everyone laughed it off. Everyone shrugged it off. And we were like, went out for dinner, forgot about it. 2 weeks later, they looked at me going, guess what just got in the mail? And that was the tramp stamp. I was like, we're not doing that. Yes. So that's hence the tramp stamp on the whole thing.
Well, how, as somebody I have a lot of tattoos, it's always
Mm,
fascinating to me when either an actor has to have tattoos for a role or if he has tattoos and like they apply it to a character, how it kind of works.
yes.
How was it for you? I don't know if you have tattoos yourself or not, but like getting to kind of go through that process with a character, did it kind of help you to understand him more, or what was it like when you were trying to figure out who Peyton was as a character throughout it?
Good question. I've always wanted tattoos. Always. I've always
Mm,
dreamt about having tattoos, and I've tried several like non-permanent tattoos just to see how they feel. I love it so much. The only reason why I don't have a single one is because if you feel like it takes a long time to put them on during shooting, taking them away is a lot worse. Covering up, especially sleeves or colored
mm,
tattoos, takes so long to take away. So that's why I don't have any. Um, but that also means that I've always wanted some. So whenever I got them on my body and I got to look at myself in the mirror, I was like, yeah, this is not me anymore. I love this. So it turned into this kind of every morning I got a coffee, early in the morning coffee, and then the whole team stood there putting on tattoos on me while I kind of got my makeup on and my nails painted. So it turned into a ritual getting into character every morning, which helped me a lot.
When I wanted to ask too, because a lot of this, you said you did musical theater, so it reminded me a lot of like, I don't know if you're an Interview with a Vampire fan, but like the newest season is going to be Vampire Lestat, where he's a rock star, and
Oh, really?
yeah, and Sam Reed did musical theater, so it's like it reminded me of the process of
Sick.
like going from a musical theater performance into like playing a rock star and the differences for.
Exactly.
Well, but like, how was it? Because it is such a big difference, but than doing, musicals on stage, because you tend to it's a lot more flowery, even with a rock musical, to
Yes.
kind of embody that. How was it for you kind of figuring out the differences between a stage presence that you would have in musical theater versus what like a rock star's stage presence has to be?
So I was very nervous in the beginning because when I got to set, I've been a part of the whole creating the songs, ritual with Blitz Berlin and Martin McPhail, who's been producing the music and writing the music along. So I've been a part of writing some parts of it, recording it, and have fun. So I did know the songs at the time, but walking into a concert area with a bunch of people dressed with t-shirts with my face on it, and then the production just says, all right, Herman, to warm up, we're just going to put you on stage and you can just play through the songs a couple of times. So I was like, all right, that's brilliant. Thank you. I don't do this. This is not, I'm not used to this. So yes, it does feel similar to musical theater in some sorts because it is just playing around, which is the nice playfulness of it. But I quickly realized that in musical theater, if you don't do well, people notice. These were paid extras. They were cheering when I stood still, which means that there was no pressure during these concerts. One playthrough, run through the songs, and I realized whatever I do, they will cheer because they're paid to do so and they're supportive. So it was just me living out my childhood dream of being a pop star, a rock artist for a couple of hours.
Yeah, you will get that instant gratification in theater, but you will also know when they don't like what you're doing.
That's what I mean. That's the challenging thing.
It's a one hand great, other hand really not fun.
It's not constructive criticism at all to be in a crowd that's paid to like you. That does not help. It's
Doesn't matter.
extremely not true.
What I wanted to ask, because I do love the exploration of stan culture
Yeah.
with like almost a misery twist, because it is, a man who someone idolizes trapped, and it's him trying to navigate like, escaping and also figuring out how to like not make this girl angry. For you, when it is going to be compared to things like misery, and it is going to be compared to like the problem within stan culture as a whole, what for you is the most exciting part about audiences getting to kind of unpack all of that with a movie like Sweetness?
I think I mean that sweetness is by all means sweetness is sweetness, right? So there is clear inspiration from other projects that's been done before, and Misery is one of the projects that obviously the story is kind of the same feel to it, whilst being a standalone project that has nothing to do with Misery. So I'm really much looking forward to seeing how if people like that or if people think it's too close, because that's in me personally, I don't feel like it's close to Misery at all. But it all depends. I feel like there's some people that probably walks into the cinema and that loves Misery so much that probably kind of sees some small things here and there going, that's sort of Misery, whilst obviously it's not. None of the scenes in this movie is really necessarily completely Misery, but it's going to be fun to hear how people, their opinions, if they walk out of the cinema going nothing like Misery or somewhat like Misery. It's going to be fun.
Yeah, I can't wait for that. But for a last quick question, I do want to ask you, obviously
Sure.
you get to see a girl's childhood bedroom covered in posters of your face.
Yeah.
Was there one poster that you're like, you know what, my mom or like my family, someone would want that poster hanging in their house, that you were like, this one looks cool. This is like a cool poster of me.
I honestly thought most of the posters were kind of cool. there is once, but there's, I mean, I probably sound like the most self-centered person in the world, and I don't mean it that way. It was just, I did tend to spend most of my time on set in that room. I walked in there in the breaks, and I was just sitting there soaking up that. No, no, I'm joking. I think I'm gonna go with, if I could take with me one photo home, it would probably be my last favorite picture, which is a picture of me with devil horns. We had a photo shoot for a couple of hours doing all the pictures.
Mhm.
And one of the last pictures, they walked in going, "We have devil horns." So I was like, that's about right. Let's do the devil horns. So that picture, if I could have that in a 2x2 over the bedroom of my mom and dad, that'd be great.
I love that. Listen, as someone, if I was in a movie and they were like, "Here's a bunch of posters of you," I would be taking pictures
Yes.
in there every day because I would think
You
it's
get
funny.
me, right?
So I was like, I would think it's funny. So like, I get it. But thank you for talking with me. I think this movie is so much fun and such an interesting
Thank
watch, and so
you.
I can't wait for everyone to get to see Sweetness.
Thank you so much, Rachel. Really appreciate it. Thank you for taking the time.